Good afternoon. I'm Catherine Cook, the Vice President Indigenous at the University of Manitoba, and I'm honored to be reading this citation today. The highest distinction the Senate of a university can confer upon an individual is an honorary doctorate. At the University of Manitoba, the criteria include distinguished achievement in scholarship, the arts, or public service. Our honorary graduate this afternoon is Her Excellency, Mary Simon. Since beginning her career as a radio broadcaster with CBC Northern Service, which is now CBC North, Her Excellency, the Right Honourable Mary Simon, has made significant contributions to Canadian broadcasting, public service, and diplomacy. A leader, a constitutional negotiator, and diplomat of Inuit ancestry, Ms. Simon was appointed as Canada's 30th Governor General in 2021, becoming the country's first Indigenous Governor General. Ms. Simon has gained national and international recognition for her work on Arctic and Indigenous issues, and for her efforts in advocating for Inuit rights, youth, education, and culture. Ms. Simon's lifelong dedication to public service began when she became involved with Northern Quebec Inuit Association, now the Makivik Corporation, and the Inuit Tapirit Kanatami, Canada's national Inuit organization, working as one of the senior Inuit negotiators during the repatriation of the Canadian Constitution in 1982, as well as the 1992 Charlottetown Accord negotiations. As Vice President of Makivik and later as its President, she was responsible for the implementation of the first land claims agreement in Canada, the James Bay and Northern Quebec Agreement, as well as the protection and promotion of Inuit rights. Ms. Simon has also served as a member of the Nunavut Implementation Commission and as co-director for policy and secretary to the Royal Commission on Aboriginal Peoples. She took on a variety of roles for the Inuit Circumpolar Council, first as Executive Council member, and then as president for 6 years. During her term as president, she worked with the Canadian and Russian governments to bring the Inuit Chukotka, Siberia, into the Inuit Circumpolar Council. In 1994, during her time as a diplomat, she was appointed by Prime Minister Jean Chrétien to be Canada's ambassador for circumpolar affairs. During her tenure in this role, she took the lead in negotiating the creation of an 8-country council, known today as the Arctic Council, and held the position of Canadian ambassador to Denmark. In 2008, as president of Inuit Tapirit Kanatami, and on behalf of Inuit, she stood in the House of Commons and delivered a response to the government's formal apology on residential schools. She is the founder of the Arctic Children and Youth Foundation, and until 2014, she was the chairperson of the National Committee on Inuit Education. Over the course of her distinguished career, Ms. Simon has received many awards and distinctions. She is an officer of the Ordre National de Quebec, as well as a recipient of the Governor General's Northern Medal, the Gold Order of Greenland, the National Aboriginal Achievement Award, the Gold Medal of the Canadian Geographical Society, and the Simons Medal. Madam Chancellor, it is an honor for me to ask, on behalf of the Senate of the University of Manitoba, that you confer a Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, upon Mary Ningiokudluk Simon in recognition of her immense impact on Indigenous communities and her lifelong dedication to public service and diplomacy.
By virtue of the authority vested in me as Chancellor of this university, I admit you to the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, with all the rights and privileges thereto appertaining.
I now invite Her Excellency, Dr. Mary Simon, to address Convocation.
Good afternoon. Bonjour. Thank you, Dr. Cook, for the very kind introduction, and thank you to the President and Chancellor of the University of Manitoba for presenting me with an Honorary Doctor of Laws. Distinguished elders, faculty, graduates, friends and family, thank you. This is a great honor and so very meaningful to me. C'est un grand plaisir et honneur d'être ici avec vous. Votre accueil chaleureux et bien apprécié. Before I begin, let me first acknowledge that we are gathered on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and on the homeland of the Métis Nation, who have nurtured and cared for the lands and waters of these places for thousands of years. Moving forward in partnership with Indigenous communities in the spirit of reconciliation and collaboration is a national responsibility that we all share. To all the students graduating today, congratulations. I am honored to share this day with you. How to begin? There have been many moments that have shaped me as a person, as a professional, and as a leader. And I want to share with you some of those moments, because if ever you thought you were alone in wondering how life is supposed to unfold, think again. One moment leads to another and another. And from that, we make a life. From that, we bring about change. Your job is to attach meaning to those moments. I was raised very much on the land and very close to my Inuit culture in Nunavik, more commonly known as Northern Quebec. My mother was a unilingual Inuit. She, like my grandmother, was born into the traditional Inuit world of the Arctic. My father was born a Manitoban at Sandy Lake and raised in the Riding Mountain National Park. And while my education can be accurately described as mixed or varied, from all three, I got the values of hard work, determination, focus, and commitment to one's principles and beliefs. Why was my education varied, you may ask? Because I was the daughter of a white man, and as such, I was not permitted to attend residential school. And while this act of exclusion saved me from the horrors of residential school, it sparked in me a lifelong commitment to preserving and advocating for Indigenous rights, traditions, and identities. While I didn't get the education I wanted or deserved, I am here to tell you that your future is what you make of it. Some of the challenges you face may also be the source of your greatest achievements in your life story. I know from experience the challenges can shape you in ways you cannot predict. Because who could have predicted that one day I would be debating those very issues, Indigenous rights, traditions, and identity, with the Prime Minister of the day, Pierre Elliott Trudeau. I was 37 years old. I was a woman leader at a time when that was unexpected, and I was an Indigenous leader at a time when that was unwanted. Both those identities collided together in a debate with the Prime Minister about Indigenous rights. It wasn't easy, but it led to these rights being spelled out in Section 35 of the Constitution, and I quote, "The existing Aboriginal and treaty rights of the Aboriginal peoples of Canada, Indians, Inuit, and Métis are hereby recognized and affirmed." In 2019, the subject of my debate with the Prime Minister came full circle when the rights of Indigenous men and women were finally equally recognized in legislation with United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, Act 2019. Change takes time and can be so difficult and frustrating, but it can happen. Which leads me to a day, almost 2 years ago, when following a robust selection process, I was asked by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau if I would accept to be Canada's first Indigenous Governor General. It was a completely unexpected request. I had retired. My husband Whit and I had a cottage in Nova Scotia, and like all Canadians, we were adapting to the realities imposed by the pandemic. That call with the Prime Minister also came at a time when Indigenous peoples and Canadians were grappling with the news of the discovery of unmarked graves at the sites of former residential schools. I could not help but recall being in the House of Commons on June 11th of 2008, representing Inuit when Canada apologized for what happened in those schools. In Prime Minister Harper's words, "Acts that have no place in Canada." Ce travail de réconciliation est un devoir que nous partagions. And so accepting the honor of becoming Governor General was to acknowledge the great responsibility of helping our country embrace its journey of reconciliation. I see it as a culmination of my life's work, and what a journey it has been, a journey of sadness and of hope. I have shared in the pain as I walk the grounds of the unmarked graves in Kamloops, yet I also have joined 14,000 students in a Saskatchewan football stadium talking about what they can do to advance reconciliation in Canada. There is so much each of us can do. I often say that reconciliation is a journey, one we share. It is how we relate to one another, Indigenous and non-Indigenous alike. It will be a long and difficult journey, forcing us to face hard truths together. Yet I found new hope sitting with Pope Francis last September during his pilgrimage of penance, as he acknowledged and apologized for the Catholic Church's role in residential schools. This hope turned into further action when last month, on the eve of the coronation, Canada's Indigenous leaders and His Majesty the King met privately for the first time and committed to shaping a renewed relationship built on trust and respect. The King, the Pope, apologies in the House of Commons, and constitutional debates. Each moment leads to another. And from there, you make change happen. But success isn't only in the winning. Success is in the process of remaining committed to the cause of remaining true to yourselves. Which leads me to some final thoughts. First, find what you love, what resonates with you, what drives you at your core. Trouvez vos passions dans la vie et vivez avec passion. Throughout these moments of my life and even today, I continue to build on my work, experience, and passions. I have always had strong principles and convictions on issues of equality and justice, and I seized every opportunity to advance the issues I am passionate about. Second, get ready to engage respectfully for those values and benefits and beliefs. Travaillez avec respect pour faire avancer vos projets. I am inspired by the next generation who will take on the mantle of change and charge ahead. You have an awareness and respect for reconciliation and diversity that surpasses any generation that has preceded you. Every day, I see young leaders breathing new life and perspectives into old debates. Third, don't forget who you are. N'oubliez pas qui vous êtes. The real world can be competitive and unrelenting, and it can be easy to lose yourself, to succumb to pressure, or to accept the judgment of others. But remaining true to what is important to you will always help you navigate this complex world, giving you a compass when you aren't sure what direction to choose. My compass was and is equality and knowing deep within me that I was worth as much as any other person, and so are you. As I started this speech, I suggested to you that your job is to attach meaning to moments in life. Today is one of those moments for you and for me. What meaning will you attach to today? With that in mind, I'll leave you with one word, an Inuktitut word that has great meaning in my life. Ayuinata. Say it with me. Ayuinata. It means never to give up, to persevere in the face of adversity. Live your life with ayuinata and never doubt that the moments of your lives will be full of meaning. Facilitation de nouveau à vous tous. C'est une célébration de métier. Congratulations again to all of you, to your parents, to loved ones and friends who supported you in your success and who lift you up when needed most. I thank you again for bestowing this honor on me today. It is a moment I will cherish. It is a moment that I will truly cherish. So thank you so much for this honor and for being here. And I am so pleased that I am here for your graduation as well. Thank you. Nakokmik.